Welcome back to a new edition of Wooden Sticks here on the Talk North Podcast Network with producer Alex Haugen. I'm Kevin Gorg. Happy holidays to everybody out there. Appreciate you taking some time out of this hectic portion of the calendar, no doubt about it. As always, today we are recording from the Aquarius Home Services studio. I spent most of the early part of the day running around Eden Prairie Mall here on a Monday. And normally, the reason I love the Eden Prairie Mall is it's not Mall of America. It's not normally very busy. Today was the wrong day to be there. Oh, my heavens. The lines everywhere, but obviously Shields is kind of a cool place to shop when you're over there. So I got my ass kicked there, both financially and time-wise. Barely made it back in time to record today, but I'm glad I did. It's going to be a great day on the pod with Scott Sandelin, the head coach of the UMD men's hockey team. Longtime friend of Sandy's. I used to cover a lot of college hockey. And he's just as solid as the day is long. Two-time national champion with the Dogs. He's a wonderful guy, and really looking forward to the hockey conversation. He hails from Hibbing, Minnesota. So we got some great stories today, going back to where it all began for him, and then taking a look at his team currently. And they're one of the top teams in college hockey. They had a great first half of the season, and we'll have some good insights from one of the greatest coaches in the history of that program and one of the great coaches in college hockey. I won't get into it today with him because I don't think we're going to have time, but certainly if he would have wanted to make the move to the NHL, I've heard many conversations about the quality he brings behind the bench, and he could have done that a long time ago. I think he really likes where he is, and he's cultivated such a consistently good program, and I know he loves the area up there in Duluth. We'll talk a little bit about that today as well. Just finished up a really busy stretch with the Wild. What was it? 6 games in 9 nights, 3 and 4 over the weekend. And the one night I had off, I worked Friday night covering the Frost game. Big win for them over the Boston Fleet. So I am kind of decompressing myself today and catching my breath, but really like the product, what I'm seeing right now. I don't look at the loss over the weekend against Colorado as anything more than catching them at the wrong time. I mean, they played terrific. I mean, the Avalanche are the best team right now in the league. I don't think it's close at the top anyway. And they played like it. And for Minnesota, I thought the effort was good. I thought they also were probably a little bit fatigued, whether they want to admit it or not. They looked like a team that really had the right intentions and made some plays, just couldn't finish on some. But they beat the Avalanche less than a month ago. And if they play them in a playoff series, which that'll mean they'll have beaten Dallas likely in the first round, I still think in a 7-game series, goaltending gets a little bit more magnified, and I have respect for Colorado's goaltenders, the Blackwood and the Wedgwood. We call them the Wood brothers, but I like Minnesota's tandem a lot better. And who knows what the teams look like in April? Right now, it's late December, so I know Wild fans thought they were going to get Quinn Hughes and run the table and win all 48, but that's not how this stuff works. And I had some people on Twitter like, "What's wrong with the Wild?" I'm like, "Are you joking? Are you kidding me?" Like 19-4-2 in their last, I don't know what that means, 26 games. It's just ridiculous. But to be where we are right now, after suffering through, 3-6-3 in October, I'm really pumped. They've weathered the injury storm. They're almost fully healthy. I know Zach Bogosian and Damian Hunt are waiting in the wings, but no, really, it's been a great ride here in the first half, and I love the potential that this team has to be a real cup contender here in the second half and beyond. So there'll be a lot of fun conversations here on Wooden Sticks for sure. If you want to ping me on Twitter with some show ideas or some queries, you can find me at Gorgamatic21 at Gorgamatic21. But I want to get to Scott Sandelin. It's the holiday season. And I know you guys have a lot of things cooking. We all do. So when we come back after this quick break, we're going to talk to the bench boss of the UMD Bulldogs. Before I get there, though, I want to make sure I thank our partners. Without them, there would be no show. And I'll start with one of my closest friends. That is John Schweitz and Minnesota Masonic Charities. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. When you think about the Masons, I get it. You think about the funny hats, those pancake breakfasts, which are phenomenal. My dear friend John Schweitz and I have chatted about this, and it's so much more than that. They've got the Masonic home over in Bloomington. They've got the hospital for the children over at the U of M. They are the largest fraternal organization in terms of charitable needs in our country, and they deserve a ton of recognition. So thank you, Minnesota Masonic Charities, for all you do and for supporting us over here at Talk North, and a special thanks to my good friend, John Schweitz. Also want to thank the good people over at Onyx Fish and Onyx Maps.
Have you ever driven past a piece of land and wondered who owns that? Or maybe you need to know exactly where a property line runs. That's where Onyx Hunt comes in. And it's not just for hunters. There are folks using Onyx for their jobs every day throughout the country. From farmers and ranchers mapping out their fields, wildland firefighters navigating rough terrain, to construction workers needing to know who owns what property, this app offers something for everyone. If you need the best land ownership maps, aerial imagery, and property boundaries in your pocket, Onyx Hunt is the tool for the job. Try it free for 7 days. Download Onyx Hunt in the app or Google Play Store, or visit onyxmaps.com/hunt to get started.
Kind of a newer one for all of us at Talk North, but Mark Rosen has talked glowingly about StretchLabs and their great work.
Hey, Rosa here for StretchLabs in the Twin City area. I've been talking about them for months now, and for good reason. I haven't felt this good in years. It's a great add-on to your fitness routine. Stretch practitioners know how to heal what ails you. I mean, they will work on your neck, your shoulders, your hamstrings, your back. I mean, that's what's been bugging me the most. And I felt so much better after the last 3 sessions I've had than I have in months and months and months. And right now they have an introductory 50-minute stretch plus assessment discounted to only $50. It would make a great gift for the holidays. So check out StretchLab at locations throughout the Twin Cities. Book any of their stretch practitioners. They're all terrific at what they do. And tell them Rosie sent you.
And of course, make it a December to remember. See our friends at Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. Quick break. Back with Scott Sandelin next. All right, welcome back to Wooden Sticks. As always, recording from the Aquarius Home Services studio. Looking forward to this conversation. Longtime friend of mine, great hockey coach here in the Midwest, Mr. Scott Sandelin of the UMD Bulldogs. Sandy, great to catch up with you.
Yeah, great to be on. Thanks, Kevin.
How's the season treating you? I know you guys are in the holiday break right now, a chance to catch your breath. How would you evaluate the first half for the Dogs?
Actually pretty good. Obviously pretty important to get some wins under our belt here in the first half with a younger team, but a very hungry team, especially our sophomore group, which is kind of our core group. But up to this point, it's been pretty good. Our key players have been really good. We've gotten good goaltending, but as you know, the second half gets harder. So hopefully we can, build off the first half and keep it going into the second half.
I had a chance to listen to you on KFAN, the radio station here in this market, over the weekend on Beyond the Pond with Kevin Fallness and the gang. And a weird dynamic right now with the World Juniors coming to the Twin Cities. There's all kinds of different locations where these teams are practicing. It happens to be Bob Motzko and Team USA up at your building. How has that kind of worked out? And I know you guys swept them down there. So was Bob a little cantankerous?
No, our relationship goes well beyond that, but it certainly was a good weekend for us. No question, but no, it's been great having them here. Finland and Germany are here too, but those guys have, taken kind of over our area. All our guys are gone for a break, and I think they've really enjoyed being up here. I know Bob really wanted to come up to Duluth, and got to see the game last night. It was a good start for them, and they got another game here Tuesday before they head back for the real tournament. But it's been fun having them here. Get to see those guys watch a little practice and just have conversations. And I know a lot of those guys, and so it's been fun having them around. And obviously we've got a couple of our players on the team as of now. So overall, I think it's been real exciting for our community, and certainly really excited to have them here for the 8 or 9 days.
And you mentioned Bob wanted to come to Duluth, and I think a lot of people enjoy coming to that city, especially people that love hockey. Sandy, you've been there a long time. Why do you think Duluth has maintained as such a great hockey destination, and not just with the Dogs? I'm talking youth hockey all the way through it. It just seems like a place that teams want to have tournaments, people want to congregate, and everybody loves the game.
Yeah, I think, even in the summer, Corgi, we get a lot of tourists here, but it's a beautiful area, obviously right on the lake. And, certainly the community is not super big, but it's big enough. And there's just a lot of things to do. And obviously hockey's a big thing in our state, as we all know. And it's no different up here, in the Northland. And, obviously with us being here too, as a college team, that creates excitement too, from the hockey side of it. And having the Wild down there, people are obviously very excited about having, them there and close. But I think people just enjoy coming here. And I know, like, I was just talking to the Finnish coaches this morning, and they feel like they're back at home right now, right? So kind of the same kind of landscape with lakes and woods and different things similar to Finland. So I think it's just a real unique place. And, it's great for me too. When you live here, like I grew up in northern Minnesota, so just being around the lake, I think it just gives you a different feel. Hey, I lived in Grand Forks, so I didn't see lakes too much, but it's just people enjoy it. And I think the hospitality too, people treat the tourists pretty well, and people like coming back here.
So the landscape of college hockey, for our listeners that maybe don't follow it as closely as a lot of people in the know do, recruiting's different now, but the pool of players, and I heard you mention this last weekend on the radio too, the pool of players is different now with the folks from Canada joining the Fracas. How has it changed the way you guys operate in terms of recruiting?
Well, I'm glad we added a third paid assistant, so we have 4 guys now compared to the 3 we used to have, but we could probably use more. But yeah, I think having between the opening up of major junior and the transfer portal, obviously the player pool is much, much bigger. So that's a good thing. You have access to more players, but it's certainly a little bit challenging when you don't have a ton of staff. So you've got to, rely on a lot of people, and, we've always relied on pro people, pro scouts, agents, different guys like that. But, we're still kind of in that, let's kind of see. I guess I'm still a little bit of a traditionalist when it comes to it. I still believe in the old way of watching players, building those relationships, and getting those types of players in your program. And this world's changed now with, having to make quicker decisions. Even some of the major junior kids that have been going to college haven't even taken visits, right? Some of them haven't even gone to campuses before they've made that decision. They've just kind of gone by what either their agent says or maybe where the money is. I don't know either way, but it's just a little bit different that way. But it's good for college hockey that our pool is bigger. I think being in the game as long as I have been, even when I started recruiting, you'd go watch some kids in junior hockey, and they've played like one major junior game and they're kind of ineligible. So it's kind of, disappointing that that's the way it was. Now it's wide open. And I think as you see this kind of continue to develop over the years, I think college hockey is going to get stronger and stronger.
Is it harder or easier? Because I look back at a time when kids weren't really recruited until the summer before their senior year. And now it feels like, Sandy, that if you're a college coach, you're trying to track these guys when they're as young as 9th and 10th grade and get them dialed in. How much is that a good thing or a bad thing in terms of building your program?
Well, I know we slowed it down a little bit a while back, Kevin, with being on a committee. We were getting a lot of those commitments. Kids are 14 years old committing to schools, but we slowed it down with the January 1st contact date, and the offer date being in August of their grade 11 year. So that did help slow that down. You're still always watching. I'm glad I'm not an agent, because I think they're watching kids that are in the 13, 14 birth years now. So it's a little bit different, but you're still always watching and you're trying to track guys. But now that pool is bigger, I think you got to be a little bit more specific on kind of where you're going and what you're looking for. We've always kind of had our little areas that we like to recruit from. Now, you got to look at, you have to broaden that. obviously the European players are more and more prominent now too. So, it's always been kind of North America. Minnesota's obviously big for us, especially northern Minnesota, getting the best kids. But yeah, I just think you got to keep looking at it every year and kind of figuring out, kind of the best avenue for you and your program, and where do you want to get those kids from. I don't think the kids change. You still want to get the same type of player that fits your program. So that's never going to change. But, you just might have to go to a few more places now. And it does become a little bit more challenging when you have, a limited staff, and then you're also playing games. So it's just part of the new world, and you just kind of keep adapting every year.
I know some programs have tried something new in terms of how they build their staff. Having a general manager, I know North Dakota did that this year when they had a change at the bench boss position. Is that something that college programs think about, need to have, or it depends on the head coach?
I think it's a unique approach. I mean, obviously, when North Dakota did, Bryn was a GM in the USHL. So well versed in that part, has obviously a lot of knowledge of players from being in the USHL. And, so in that sense, it was something that kind of was a natural fit for him. It certainly has brought up a lot of conversation. I know even amongst our staff, is that something we want to do? Are we good with where we're at? Like right now, I'm pretty comfortable with where we're at because I think we all share it. And, we've got, our staff that's on top of things. And, but it's certainly something that I think you're going to see more of moving forward. I do. I think I like having all those guys kind of do what they're doing. Each of my staff has responsibilities. One's a goalie coach, one works with the forwards, one works with the D. So, and then on top of that, we all share the recruiting. But those guys take a majority of it. But I do think it was something that could spark a trend. I think you see it obviously in football and the basketball side. So you might see more and more of that moving forward with hockey for sure.
I know at the holiday break, you try to always kind of take a broad look at what you've done so far, what's working, mm-hmm. where you need to go. And you talked about how tough the second half can be. And I know throughout college hockey, top to bottom, there's a ton of parity. Can you make comparisons, Scott, to the national championship teams you had in 2011 and 2018 and look back at some of those memories as to how the first half went those years, where you were at the break, what worked in the second half to get you going? Or is each team just so unique, it's their own story?
I think it's a little bit of both. There's certainly some similarities, I think, with this team as far as kind of our makeup in what we have. We have a really, really, really good top line. We had that, I'll go back to 11 when we had, Jack Conley, Mike Conley, Justin Fontaine. We also had Justin Falk on that team. So we've got, there are some similar players wise. And I think just watching this team play, there are some similarities to maybe some of those teams, but there's still some growth that you have to go through. We were fortunate too through that great stretch, that 10-year stretch. We won a lot. We won some championships. We were always in, kind of those key games, whether it was, the playoff championships or the regionals, and guys got that experience. And, kids nowadays, they want to win, but that experience really is crucial. I really think that's crucial, but doesn't mean you can't win. But I like to draw it. I try and separate, maybe that previous, but you certainly still draw on some of those and learn from what those teams did. And maybe it's their demeanor of how they went through the year up or down. I think that was one of the things I talk a lot about, just the team's demeanor and mentality, whether you're up a goal, down a goal, that never changed. And guys just kind of stuck with it and believed in themselves. And I think that's every team, successful team, that, if they believe in each other and have gone through some of those things and found ways through them, good and bad, I think that those are the experiences too that you can gain from. And I think we've had a little bit of that in the first half, but I think it's a little bit of both. You don't want to compare those teams solely to what you have now, because you want this team to create its own identity, so to speak. But there are some similarities, and there always has been with the teams that have won here and had success with. So we certainly are trying to build towards that.
How much does it help, Sandy, that you guys play in the NCHC, which is widely considered the deepest and toughest conference every year in college hockey?
Yeah, we're probably a little biased on that. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that, think some other leagues are equally as good, but I think our league makes us better. I think it feels like a playoff weekend all the time. I think this year is even better. Teams have improved. I think the depth of our league is probably as good as it's been as far as from top to bottom. But it's certainly, when you've won 7 championships in your league in the last 9 years, I think that tells you that our league is pretty good. And I think, our league isn't afraid to go play tough non-conference either. I think this year we did well. Last couple of years, maybe not as good, but I do think that teams are not afraid to go and play a really, really difficult non-conference schedule. And like, just for us too, like, we're fortunate. We've got some great programs just right in our state that we can play that aren't in our conference. The Minnesotas, the Mankato's, St. Thomas, Bemidji's, St. Cloud's obviously in our league. Plus we can go to Wisconsin, and play the Badgers when we can. But I think it's meant, the world to all of us that we push each other. And I think, we see different styles maybe every weekend, and nothing really is a surprise when you get to the end of the year. If you're playing, you've kind of seen some of the best teams. So I do think it makes you a better hockey team. I think the coaches are awesome in our league. It makes it very challenging, but I think the players like it. I know as a coach, I like it because they push you to get better.
So when you get a break like this, can you shut it down for a while and not have to think about all the decisions that go on into not just building this team, but being ready for recruiting and all the different things that come up through the course of being a head coach? Are you able to get away from it for a little while during the holidays, or is it always kind of a constant, maybe just subtle thing behind the scenes that you've got to at least think about periodically during each day?
Well, I think it's you're always thinking about it, right? You try to. Certainly at this time too, doing a couple of days of Christmas shopping helps you forget about it. But I think you're always kind of thinking about something. And I'll give you an example. They've got Max playing I think trying him in the middle on the World Junior team.
Oh.
Now my wheels are turning like, oh geez, I know we play them all together, but could he play center for us moving forward? And just crazy things like that coaches think about. But we're also catching up on the recruiting, sitting with our staff and just making sure we're got a plan moving forward. And but you also do, I told those guys too, it's good you guys are busy, take some time with your families, and we'll do that for a couple of days. But our guys will get back on the 28th and we'll get back at practice.
It took me a while to get here, but it is Wooden Sticks. We like to go back to where it all began. I know you grew up in Hibbing, and I'm dear friends with Pat Micheletti, and I've heard a lot about Hibbing over the years between him and John Pazzacchini. I feel like I grew up there myself, but the Hippodrome, I used to take my Mounds View teams up there when I was a high school coach. It's such a cool building. How did you, going back to when you were really little, how did hockey become your thing?
Well, yeah, it's funny because I grew up my dad played basketball. My brother was basketball. There was no hockey in our family.
Huh.
I quickly realized I wasn't going to be very good at basketball. So, and I grew up in, the old time, the traditional neighborhood that, we had 10, 12 guys my age that we did everything together. And those guys, I started, I think, probably a year after those guys after trying basketball, but fell in love with it. My dad actually put a small rink in the backyard. Even though we had an outdoor community rink, in our neighborhood a half a block away. So got the best of both worlds. But just, I think, I say this a lot, I think I was pretty fortunate to grow up in a neighborhood. Like, it seems like today, Like I know even living in Hermantown, there's not necessarily the traditional neighborhoods. People are kind of spread out, but we did everything together, every sport, and grew up with a great group of guys, not only my age, but even older. Even Mike Meadows. Mike Meadows was in our neighborhood. Mike played at Minnesota, and just guys like that, you know, taught us a few things. We'll just say that, but just very fortunate. And same thing with, when we got to high school hockey, playing in an era where there wasn't, it's single A, double A, it was everybody, and played in the Iron Range Conference where there was a lot of really talented hockey players from up here. And, really, really, I think benefited from just growing up at that time and being in that environment, not only with your friends, but also, through the high school days.
A lot of kids have brothers that they can look at and say, well, I'm pretty much tracking the same way my brother was, and he went to play, Division I or pro hockey. You probably, because it was a basketball family, didn't have that measuring stick. So at what age did you realize that hockey might be something you could do beyond high school and beyond college?
Oh, you know what? It probably wasn't really till high school. I just, I golfed, I played football, loved all those. I loved baseball too, but I think the baseball coaches back then made you get your hair cut over your ears, and I liked the mullet back then. So I still get a little heat from the baseball coach that I know very well for not playing baseball, but really enjoyed the golf too. But probably high school, and just getting some attention from the college. I know, got some college opportunities, and through the recruiting and process, and then you start to go, oh, maybe this could be something. And I saw Dean Blaze a lot at our games because we had some pretty good players with Pat and the Hoopers and Mickey Crumpetich. And
oh yeah,
we had a bunch of guys. Yeah, we actually had 4 guys drafted off our high school team.
Wow.
Pro draft. So that was back when it was 12, 13 rounds, but pretty cool for a small community. But yeah, probably high school. Maybe late Bantam, but more probably high school when I got to play as a sophomore, and got some attention from colleges, and you start to go, this could be something that could be really cool.
When it got right down to it, you end up at North Dakota. Was it a difficult choice? Were there other coaches that were at your games? Did you have to wrestle with multiple spots that you liked? How did that decision play out for you?
Yeah, it was tough, and so I do empathize with what kids go through.
Right.
Obviously, Gus Hendrickson was coaching at Duluth here, and Surrey. My good friend Mike and was an assistant coach, and he recruited me hard, and they were the first school to offer me a scholarship. I got recruited out east by a number of those schools, but I didn't really want to go out there. Growing up watching the WCHA, I wanted to kind of stay in that league, and obviously North Dakota, Northern Michigan, Rick Comley and Walt Kyle were really like those guys. I think Rick, great friend. Walt's a great friend. Went up there on a visit, had opportunity, went to Michigan State, I was supposed to go to Michigan State, but we had a makeup high school game and I never got there. So,
oh, wow.
But I think Sean Walsh was an assistant back then. So it really came down to probably 3 schools, and Wisconsin tried jumping in there late. But, I pretty much, I was really close to going to Northern, believe it or not.
Wow.
Really kind of like Northern, like the coaches there, but it was probably down to 3 schools. And it probably wasn't until Gino called me after they won that I really knew North Dakota was it. I mean, I love Dean, and probably a big reason I went there was because of Dean. So I don't think I could have gone wrong going anywhere, but certainly, real happy with the decision to go and play there and play for the coaching staff that I got to play for.
When you go back there now, coaching the Bulldogs, and obviously you've had many, many meetings in Grand Forks, is it still a little extra special to go back and to, number one, they're always a good team. I mean, North Dakota's always a big time contender, but just for you, the sentimental value.
Yeah, I spent 10 years of my life there, 4 as a player and 6 as an assistant coach. And, there's still people there that like me, and there's a lot of people there that don't even know who the hell I am, but, but it's still fun. And obviously, before I left and came to Duluth, I was kind of part of, helping design their new building too. So, knew it was going to be an unbelievable facility, but I still have a lot of good friends there. Obviously, their coaching staff know those guys pretty well. I know it's changed over the years, but it's still a special place, and I still like going in there. And I'm a Bulldog now, more so than a Fighting Sioux, but it's still fun to go back there, and it's always fun to compete against them because, like you said, Gorgie, they're always a good team and they're always one of the top teams. So, and we've had some great battles over the years, and that's not going to probably not continue moving forward.
So for our listeners that want to maybe spend a weekend watching college hockey, and I'm going to tell you, I've done it in Duluth, and I think the city is fantastic. I love your home barn. I love Amsoil. I think they really captured part of the feel of the deck with the way the rink sits, and the sight lines are great. So I'm going to put that up near the top of my list, honestly, and especially if you live in the Twin Cities. It's a super easy drive. But are there a couple venues, maybe an under the radar spot where if college hockey fans are listening today and they want to take a road trip and go watch, whether it's you guys on the road or whoever, are there some cool places to hang out for the weekend and watch the games?
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun part. Hockey brings you a lot of different places, right? And I still think one of the fun rinks to play in our league is Western Michigan. It's a smaller barn. I know they're building a beautiful new facility that's going to be ready in a year or two, but it's about 4,000 seats. They got their student section that fills half of it. It's a low ceiling.
Oh man!
And the game just seems like 3 times faster in there every time we play. But it's a fun atmosphere to play in. Obviously, they're a very good hockey team, but it's just a fun building to play in. But it's an older building. I still always like going up to Michigan Tech. I think there's a lot of history in that building, and they've got a great fan base. So, I did finally go out to Lina Arena out in Cornell. I'd never been there.
Wow.
And that's it's an older building, but again, great atmosphere. And obviously we played when Mike Schaefer was coaching, and his teams are always very, very good and very difficult to play against. But again, just a fun atmosphere, not a big building. And you kind of miss some of those because I think I like those, having been around, I like those buildings with a lot of history, and they don't have to be, a lot of bells and whistles. It's just fun to play in, and their atmospheres are great, and their student sections are great. And so that's fun to, even going up to Maine. I still remember playing against Maine back in the day. We had a big brawl with Jimmy Archibald, and, going back up there. When Red Jedron was coaching, the building hadn't changed a lot. I know they've done a bunch of renovations, but just a really good hockey community, hockey crazy town, and that was a lot of fun to kind of relive that, from the playing days too.
So let's just transition briefly here towards the end of our conversation about, I just want to get a little Minnesota Wild opinions from you. You've got such a great hockey mind. I know you guys, especially on the weekends, are tied up with your battles, but maybe you're catching games on a Tuesday. I know you love watching, and from talking to you over the years, I know you do. Your thoughts on the team, and then how did it hit you when Bill Guerin made that move? Because it was the kind of move where everybody has an opinion.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually been very impressed. Obviously, Ryan, my son's playing for the Iowa Wild, but you know what? I've watched a lot of games. Love watching you. Great interviews. And I'm not saying that because you're on here. We know each other, so
we do, and we'll give each other a hard time if we have to.
It's been fun, and I think the start wasn't what everybody wanted, but I just think kind of once they've hit their stride, and I think Heinze's done an amazing job considering all the injuries.
Yes.
But, I look at their goaltending's been very good. They get everybody back. I think they're, going to build off kind of this run they've had, and they're going to be right there. As far as the move, I thought it was awesome. I love Quinn Hughes. I've got to coach Quinn at the World Juniors. He's a dynamic player. And I think to have somebody like that on your team, I just think for me, it created a lot of excitement, even for me as a fan, right? But I know what kind of player he is and what he can do. And it's probably something that, as time goes on, people are going to realize it was a really good move. And I give Billy a lot of credit. He gave up some assets, and I know I've personally watched Zeev play for 4 years plus. He's a very talented player and is going to be a great player. But you get a guy like Quinn, obviously with the experience and the pedigree right now, he's probably just a little farther along. So I think it was great. I think it tells me, hey, he wants to win, and they got a lot of great pieces.
I think the Zeev piece was the most difficult part for Wild fans to swallow. And I think Sandy hit the nail on the head. Like, I think Bill Guerin looks at where the team is right now, and Kirill Kaprizov is in his prime, and Boldy is coming to his prime, and they've got Brock Faber. And they felt like Zeev, when he finishes the process 2 or 3 years down the road, probably is going to be very similar to Quinn Hughes, but he's not there yet. And so if you're going to try to go now and win a cup in the next 2-3 years, I thought it was a brilliant and aggressive move. But I will tell you that, I'll like you, I watched Zeev for years, and when the Wild drafted him, I'm like, oh my God, this kid's going to be special. But he just turned 20. Like, he's at least 2 or 3 years away from where he needs to be, and the Wild want to win now, and they look like a team. Even in the week we've had with Quinn Hughes, they look like a team that's ready to contend.
For sure, and I think I think that's what you do. You're looking at where your team is, and your general manager is going to know exactly, more so than anybody, where your team is and what you need. And and again, I know it's kind of been said before, those players don't pop up very often either, and have that opportunity to maybe grab one. And, again, looking at their division, they're playing great, and they're still not making up any ground.
I know.
But, it's crazy, but no, it was certainly definitely an eye-catching move, but I think it just creates that excitement and that buzz. And I'm sure, like I said, over the long run, people are going to see, how important Quinn is and what value he can bring to a team.
I'm glad you brought up Brian, because I had a process here. I was going to get you to talk about the Wild, and I wanted to segue to the Iowa Wild. And I lived in Des Moines for a year. I played for the Buccaneers way back in the day in the USHL, and I loved the city. How does Ryan like it, and how's his season going?
He loves it. He loves Des Moines. Obviously they've been missing a few guys here through the course of the first half, obviously with all the call-ups, and, have kind of been, having a rough first half. But I think, I think their team is a good team. I think they've, you get in those ruts where you kind of find ways to lose instead of win. But they got a nice win here before break here against Chicago, and, hopefully they'll get some of those guys back. But, it's a long year, and hopefully they can put a run together. But, Crow is there, and he got to play for Greg in Colorado when he signed out of Mankato. So he knows kind of what he expects, and was excited when he got the job. And, but overall, he likes living there. It's been a great experience for him. This is his third full year of pro. So,
wow.
But like all those guys, they want to win. They want to win more, and hopefully they can put together a good second half.
What was the dynamic like when he was at Mankato and you guys were playing the Mavericks and you're behind the bench? Because, I just imagine, being a hockey dad and having watched him all the way up, I don't care who you are. I don't care how good a coach you are. That's got to be an awkward situation.
It was different. I mean, obviously, I think we played him 4 times. I'm not going to say how that went for us, but not very good. But The interesting thing would have been I think it was 21 coming out of the COVID, the Frozen Four. We were both in it, right? And
Yep.
We could have played each other in the championship game. We lost to UMass and St. Cloud beat Mankato, and I just said, I know I'm not going to have anybody probably in my family cheering for the Bulldogs if we do play there, except maybe the dog, but it would have been really cool, like to have that experience in the final game of the year. You know what? 'Cause
Yes.
I looked at it, obviously we're going to want to win. They're going to want to win. I couldn't have gone wrong. Like if we'd have won, I'd be happy. But if he would have won, I would have been happier for him, because that's all. He's been around ours when he was younger, and that's all he wanted to do was, help Mankato maybe do that. And they got close a couple times,
Yeah.
Younger, and obviously that was one where we could have faced each other, which would have been a win-win for at least our household, if we would have both been in that final. But no, he had a great experience there. And, I think it was really good for him to kind of go on his own path, and he's doing great, and, just real proud of him. Like most parents are of their kids, right?
For sure. Do you think he'll, when his playing days are done, and who knows how many years he can play, he's got plenty of talent to play for a long time, but when he gets done, do you think coaching is something he'll look at?
Yes, I do. I actually do. I think it's something that, I know he's talked probably a little bit more with Mom about it than me, but yeah, I think it's something that he would love to do, and I think he'd be very good at it. He's got a sports management degree, so who knows? He could be doing what you're doing. I don't know. Or he could be an agent, but no, I do think that's something that I think he would enjoy doing. He's talked a little bit about, being interested in. So we'll see what happens, but I do think if he does, I think he'd be really good at it.
All right, final couple here. We call this the Hat Trick Hot Seat. Just 3 questions to help our listeners kind of get to know you, maybe a little bit away from the rink. The first one is always my favorite question, and we're about the same age. We'll just call, we're both roughly 60. So I want to know, Sandy, your first concert. I want to know the venue, and I want to know who you went to see.
Bruce Springsteen at the Met Center.
Oh, hell yes. Oh, yeah, mine was the Met Center too. Mine was Journey and Bryan Adams, and obviously, did you see the movie, the Bruce Springsteen movie that was just out?
I have. I saw Springsteen in concert about 5 times.
Oh, yeah. So. Good stuff. Oh, so good. All right, if folks are going to come to Duluth, maybe they got their kid in a youth tournament, maybe they're coming to watch the Dogs. You got friends coming in, and it can be Hermantown, it can be Duluth, it can be anywhere in the surrounding area. Where's your favorite restaurant to tell people, hey, you got to stop by this spot?
Oh, that's a great question. I guess it depends what you're looking for, right? Boy, I still like Pickwick is an older place, but I still like it.
I've not been.
There's a couple good. There's a Va Bene, a little Italian place down by Fitger's. It's good. Yeah, there's a few. Well, then I got a couple. I'm living up on Island Lake, so there's a couple of little sports bars I like to go to too.
I love a good sports bar. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, so there's a couple up here that are a little closer to home. But yeah, I would say probably those 2 places. Probably not a great.
Well, you can't go wrong, right? I mean, there's restaurants all over the place up there, and I just didn't know if you had a couple of spots, and you gave us 2, because when you're up there, I always find Duluth, like you mentioned, it was a smaller town, but it feels bigger than it is when you're up there.
Yeah, for sure. It's got the the little bigger city feel without being too big. It's exactly.
I love it.
Kind of why I like it, right? I mean, God, when I was in Hibbing, we used to come to Duluth. We thought the mall was the biggest thing, right? So.
That's so true. All right, final one. You're going to sit down with your wife and you're going to watch, you're going to have a date night, movie night, and you're going to pop in. It's hard to pick one, so I never like to say your all-time favorite movie, but if it's one of she says, okay, your pick tonight, pick one of your all-time favorites. Which movie are you most likely to pop in?
Oh boy, That's a great question. Besides the Slapshot movie,
that works, but I don't know if she's going to love it as much as you are.
I still like watching the Titanic. I think it's a great movie.
So do I. I was skeptical. Like, there was a lot of hype. If you remember, that thing came out, 25, 30 years ago. And there was all this hype. And I'm like, it can't be as good as they're saying. And then I went. I'm like, oh my God. You knew the story was going to end the way it was going to end, but you didn't know the way they tied it all together. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I just watched it probably a week ago.
No kidding. And yep. I love both of those two, but I think Kate Winslet in that movie is just spectacular. If I bump into it and it's on, I'm one of those guys that I'll probably stay with it. It's super long, but it doesn't feel long because it's so well done, right? It's one of those type of movies.
Well, it's telling our age right now too.
I know.
So
I know. Well,
it's a classic. It's a pretty good classic movie.
Well, Sandy, I know because it's the holidays and because you guys get so little time on your own. I almost was hesitant to ask, but I'm glad you could find 45 minutes today. And I've always been such a fan of you and your program. So great to catch up and have a Merry Christmas, you and your family. And I hope to see you at either a Wild game or a college hockey game here in the second half.
Yeah, well, appreciate you having me on. You have a Merry Christmas too, and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Sandy. That's Scott Sandelin right here on Wooden Sticks. I'll be back after a quick break to put a bow on this week's edition of our show. All right, final segment of the show, and really enjoyed that thoroughly. Could have gone a lot deeper. Try to keep these conversations to 40 minutes if I can. But man, there's a lot of meat on that bone when it comes to the great work he's done up there. I wanted to get a little more detail on those championship runs of both 2011 and 2018. I vividly remember watching both, but especially 2011. It was the first one for UMD, and it was in downtown St. Paul. They both were. But that first one was extraordinary. It's an overtime game. And I think we'll have to have Sandy on again for sure. Maybe in the spring if they can make a run this year. But you get the idea talking to him that hockey runs through his blood and it's on his mind all the time. And I love that about him. I've always enjoyed catching up with him. I've bumped into him in all kinds of different functions. He's been nice enough to be a part of a seminar the Wild put on every summer. It's called the Leadership Seminar, and it's for all the captains of boys and girls across the state of Minnesota in hockey programs. They get to come down with their coaching staff and spend a day hosted by the Wild and have different keynote speakers. Sandy's been there multiple times. Such a tremendously classy and knowledgeable guy, and I've always loved hearing him and listen to kind of his perspective on the game. And I really wanted to get his thoughts on the Wild. And so it was cool to hear his impressions. And being that he's coached Quinn Hughes and around the game at a high level, I thought it'd be interesting to find out what he thought about what Bill Guerin did about a week and a half ago that kind of changed the landscape of the season this year for the Minnesota Wild. And I think it's going to be exciting to see how it plays out. And certainly having a guy like Scott Sandelin on board gives me even more confidence that Bill Guerin pulled something off that's really going to be beneficial for the home team here. So get out and watch these college games. I'm telling you, I wish I had more time to do it. I look back at my 20 years here on the job, and I'd say about half of them I got to work college hockey, probably more so in the first 10 years. And we used to do our shows at the old deck up in Duluth, and we would have the pregame set outdoors if the weather permitted. And a lot of times those series were in October, even in November before it got real cold up there. And so Doug Woog and I would be at the desk. We'd be pumping it up. The fans would be out there. The pep band would come by. It's just, there's nothing like college hockey. And if you can spend a weekend in a city, and, Sandy gave us some great recommendations for some cool places to watch. And, you got restaurants, you got great hotels, you got campuses right there. I mean, it's just it's a wonder. If you love the game, it's a wonderful way to get away for a weekend and see something different. On my bucket list is Yost Arena down Ann Arbor way to see Michigan. I've only watched games on TV, and it looks just incredible. I've had some people tout me on that, but I concur on Michigan Tech. I know Scott mentioned that. I've been down there a couple times. That is such a cool place to hang out, and the rink is just awesome. It's definitely a place, if you're a college hockey fan, I would put on your list for sure. Grand Forks has the nicest rink I've ever been in, and the Ralph is just it's incredible. It's a special place. It's a hockey mecca. And, even though Grand Forks is extremely cold, if you go up there in January or February, it's windy, it's cold. But when you walk in that building and you sit down, it is just, honestly, it's the Taj Mahal of college arenas. And it's, again, you're going to get treated to some unbelievably good hockey when you think it, who North Dakota plays, how good that, that North Dakota program is every year, including this year. So, a lot of fun ideas and a lot of fun thoughts from Scott Sandelin today on the show. So, in closing, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We're going to continue the show from the road. The Wild are playing a game on national TV this week that I am not working on Tuesday night. And then our next venture starts on the 27th. On Saturday, we take off with the World Juniors being in town. We are going to be on the road for 14 days. So I'll take all my podcast gear with me on the road, and we will continue to do shows from places out west. I think we're going to be in San Jose, Anaheim, LA, and Seattle for most of those 14 days. So I hope the holidays are great to you. Appreciate you listening. And if you have any inclination to be a part of the show or have questions or requests for guests, X or Twitter is the place to ping me at Gorgomatic21. Thanks again for listening to Wooden Sticks.